Okay, so now we have our blocks, and we are going to build a little flow that places them in a row. So we'll start off with a line. I hit the L key and I just draw this line. And then I'm going to create a flow by clicking the flow editor and identity, and that creates a flow called identity 5 and attaches it to this line. Then I'll rename it and I'll call it the apartment mix-up. Okay, and the concept here is that we're going to put points along this line and use those points to place our blocks. So we'll have our reference blocks or groups and our instanced groups. All right. And it works like this. So the first thing we do is we have to build a dictionary of our unit types. This is unit 1, that's unit 2, and this is unit 1C, and their widths, because that's what's going to go together. So if I do this, and I do this 1, 2, and 1C, because the user is going to be not wanting to mix by distance, but by name. 10.2. And this is a classic JavaScript object. Well, this is actually a text panel. And so we pass it, P-A-S-S, to a pass, where it becomes a JavaScript object. And now we use a little trick, which I really like, called, oh, I'm on the wrong flow. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to paste it here. There we go. So into my apartment flow. All right, now this trick is apartment makes to allow the user to set a string, which is shorthand and is a list. So this list is 1, 2, 2, 1C. Then we convert that string to a list by using a string split. A split string command. And we use that, and that gives us an array. And then we map over this array. And now map takes a list and does the same thing to every item in the list in order. And so what we're going to do is take every item in the list, which is the key in this dictionary. So that's the key and that's the value. The value for the key 2 is 10.2. So when we see a 2 here, we want to grab 10.2. So we're going to read a property or a key. Sorry, the other way around. This is the object we want to read, and the property name is that, and we just want to pass it in like this. And just to see that we're getting the right thing, I'm going to click on the goggles. Something terrible has happened, and it's because that was an incorrect syntax. You see there was a trailing full stop. You just want a number. And if we do that, we get 7.2, 10.2, 10.2, 7.2, which are the correct widths in order for these units. Okay. Now what we want to do is we need to sum them up. So the first ones, we need 7.2, and that'll put this. And then we need 17.4, and we'll put this one. And then we need 37.6, and then we'll put another one of these. And so this is a bit of a mission, but we're going to use this reduce. Now what a reduce does, a map takes a list, does something to every item in the list, and returns the result. So if you had a map and the function was multiply by 2, and you put in 1, 2, 3, you'd get back 2, 4, 6. Whereas reduce converts a list down to one item. So say you had 1, 2, 3, and your list, your function was plus, you would go 1 plus 2 plus 3. And there's an intermediate value which is called the accumulator. So you get 1, then you add 2, you get 3. That's the accumulator. And then you add 3 to that, you get 6. So 1 plus 2 plus 3 is 6. So this is quite a subtle one. And let's just show you what that is. Like if I had add, right, there's the accumulator, and here's the value of the current iteration, and I put that in like this, okay, what we'll get is the sum of all of those things, right? So they've just been added up. Now, what we want to do is we want an array. We want another list. Array is another word for list. We want a list of lists. So we want a list, and the last item of the list is the sum of all the items before it. So we're not just going to simply add. We are actually going to do a bit of fanciness. So our initial value is going to be an array, an empty one. To make an empty array, you use the JavaScript notation, which is just square brackets, and you put that into the pass, and it comes out as an array. All right, then you grab this array, and you're going to pop the last item off of it. Okay, and you're going to add that to the next value. So you grab this. But of course, if this array is empty, you want to add 0. So we just do, I think we actually could try this. And then we push this thing there, and we get this, okay? So you grab the last one, you add the next one to it, and push it back into the array. Then the array comes back, you push the last one off, you pop the next one in. Then I believe if we popped, I think maybe if we popped push and pop. It's one way of doing it. So 7.2 plus 10.2 plus 10.2 plus 7.2. Fantastic. And I'm just popping and pushing and doing that thing. So pop and push is add and remove stuff from a list. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to take those distances and put points on the line, and we're going to use we could use frame on polyline, or we can use the along point transform, which is a lovely one, and preserves rotation for us. So we'll use that one, plug that in there. Now the along point transform, which is really struggling there. The along point transform is a percentage. So if we look at the along point transform, can we just inspect it? You can see it has parameters and it's percents along, and then it's a list of percent. So that's 50%. So 50% of the way you get a point there, which is useful, but it's sort of normalized. So we need to normalize our points. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to map over our distances rather and convert them to percentages. So we'll get our nice list, and we will get the length of our curve. And we'll divide one by the other. So we'll divide the value by the length of our curve. And now we're going to overwrite this percent along. So we're going to write a property. The object we're going to write to is that. The property is going to be parameters dot percents along. So in JavaScript, if you have nested properties, you use a dot to drill down. And the value we're going to put is this. And in theory, if we plug that in there, and that in there, and write this out as a feature, we should see something. So let's just do this for now. Okay, so you can see what's happening is percent along is not an array. So I've got to encapsulate it in a list so that it matches this. So if I encapsulate in a list, good, we get something out, which is great. And now let's just actually try this. Do that. So it goes red when it's not closed because a map needs things to be closed. Let's just see if we're getting something out. There we go. Correct. Okay. Now, the reason it is not, it's rendering that, you can see they're all there, right? That's because we need to multiply by 100 because this division puts the percentage in as a decimal, and we actually just need it as a percent. Like, so if we do that and zoom out, there we go. Okay, so that's looking right. So if I shift D, I'll just hit G to turn off the grid. Shift D, snap, 10.2, 20.4. Right, this is working perfectly. Okay, so that's fantastic. We've got somewhere. It's a bit of a mission, but not terribly insane. I think if you can get your head around the reduce, then you're basically there. All right, now, so the along point, what we actually want to do is we want to use an instance group. So at every point, we're going to put an instance group, and there's an instanced group transform that we're going to use. And this transform looks like this.
What?
Now, when you do this, all right, and it's got this block definition. Now, we'll fix this before this reaches prod, but we're actually looking for the group ID. So we're going to write a property, and hopefully you can remember what we need to do, which is parameters dot group ID, parameters dot group ID, and the group ID that we want is the first item of this list. Now look, everything, this list matches this list matches this list. So these lists are kind of traveling in series. What I mean is these points, these distances, and these names are the same thing, right? So 1 is 7.2 along the curve, which is that point. And so if we then just use a list item, so we're going to grab this list, it's kind of master list, and this index is the index of the map. So on the first item, this is 0, then 1, then 2, then 3. So we could do this, and do this, and do that. Then for every iteration, we're going to get the right name for the point that we're on. So then we'll do this, and we'll do this. And if I right-click and enable that, we have what we came for. All right, which is fantastic. Now, sorry, I won't stretch that. We've got some issues here with this. because this wall is causing issues. Okay, so you see this wall is a flow. I believe the flow is not being picked up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and I'm going to bake. And that transfers this wall into an actual geometry. Now what I need to do is, this is group 1, click group it and edit it and call it 1. So those walls were created outside of the bake. All right, there we go. So we can't reference flows within groups or blocks at the moment. They have to be kind of statically baked items. So I'm just getting 1C. I'm just getting those names back on those groups. Nothing updates immediately, but if I then hit update, like I move it, then the groups update. All right. And then if I add levels, the way that groups work in Giraffe is it just adds them up. Now you can see we're having some issues with balcony. And that's because that floor to floor is incorrect. So it's 3.4. And the properties we need are no facades, verticals, and slab thickness. So no facades, high verticals is true, and our slab thickness we want at 0.2. Might save. All right, fantastic. Little trick with these. You open the labels and advanced. See this on top is set to true. You turn that off, then they go behind, just plastic. Okay, and so there we have a really cool little machine for placing apartments. And what's really cool about it is this controls it. So if I want a core at the start and the end, I can go 1C, 2, 2, 1C. You can see that core appears. Or if I want to go 2, 1, 2, 1, 1C, 2, then I get a 2, a 1, a 1C, a 2. Now, just to make this a little more obvious, I'm going to articulate the 2 a little bit better. Yeah. Well, maybe let's just do this. So the 2 gets a slightly different colored facade. Now remember, this is not going to update immediately. But there it goes. Okay. And that is how you would do this. Now, why don't we just quickly finish this off so we actually get a corridor here. And then I'll show you 2 more things in the next video. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep this logic, but we're just going to offset this curve like this. And now there's a great trick here because I don't need this along point transform. I'm just going to right click and embed the data. There we go. Disappears there. And this instance group transform, same thing. I don't need it. All I'm doing is grabbing just grabbing it so that I can change it. So again, I'll embed that data. Makes that neater. And we do need the levels and we this flow, which flow it is and what the apartment mix is we do need. All right, so let's get this offset line transform. And we're just going to offset it 1 meter. And now I will slowly replace each of these lines with this Good. Okay, so what comes out of here is actually a list. So what I'm going to do is just get item the first. And that's what's messing that up. There we go. There we go. All right, now you can see here's our actual line and it's offset the wrong way. So if we offset it to the right, then we get that. And let's try this. Just going to try flatten that list. I think it could be a list of lists. Yeah, there we go. So nested lists are not kind to Giraffe blocks. Okay, so now this is a purely symmetrical apartment building, where what we could do is we could just repeat this and make a run 2. Just for my final thing here, I just want to offset a polygon. And I want to offset transform, offset polygon transform. And I want to apply usage, get a usage. And the usage I'm going to get is corridor. A lot of usages on that corridor, and we'll do that, and we'll do that. And the offset distance is just going to be 1. And then we'll write this. Okay. So now what I want to stop now and I'll get an update.